Welcome everyone to the Asia Smart App Workshop on UI UX versus consumer behaviors. I'm Kylie from WTIA. Before passing the stage to our speakers, I would like to express my appreciation to your support on behalf of WTIA, the organizer of Asia Smart App Awards 2021. We are particularly thankful to be continuously sponsored by Create Hong Kong as well. Let me introduce our speakers today. We have Mr. Roger Wong, Project Director from Tech9. And the second speaker will be Mr. Tong Li Ng, Founder and Creative Director from DigiSalad. After all the sharing, we cannot miss the panel discussion with speakers mentioned to be our panelists to share their expertise on the relationship between UX, UI design, and consumer behavior. The panel discussion will be moderated by Mr. Marco Ho, founder and lead instructor of Green Tomato Academy. All right, it's time to pass the time to our first speaker, Roger of Tech9. He will be sharing how to optimize app UX UI design to enhance customer journey and usage rate. Roger.
Thank you, Kylie. I'm Roger, I'm Project Director from Tech9, and I'm honored to join everyone here today to share how we can optimize app UX and UI to enhance customer journey and usage rate. So before I start, I just want to give a quick introduction about our company. We're Tech9, and we're a software R&D house with system integrator. And we have a very rapid growth of over 100 staff in these 3 years. And we're specialized in mobile app, cloud-based systems and development, and co-founded by software development and IT entrepreneurs. So today we talk about UX UI, and before we start into that, I want to share some global mobile app usage statistics that might be interesting to review. And first of all, in the global app usage behavior for the 2021 and 2022, we can see an actual growth where users have been spending about 88% mobile time on apps. So when they're using their phones, almost up to 88% of the time they're using their mobile apps. And over around 49% of an app is opened 11 times daily, while in millennials, this number is even crazier with 21%, 50 times opened daily for each app. So we can see how this figures are showing how apps have been integrated to our daily lives, have been used day to day, and that this time is actually increasing and increasing really rapidly. So for the global app download rate, we can see this trend haven't been decreased during the 2 years of pandemic. So we've been growing steadily with almost up to 230 billion downloads of apps in 2021. And we can only foresee this trend to be increasing and over 2022 and ongoing. And the revenues have been reached up to 808 billion in 2022. Now, from our experience, many companies and clients have been increasing demand in brand building for their apps and online sales opportunities, how to recover from the COVID pandemic with offline to online business, and using applications as one of their main strategies. However, now people have figured out how to get people to download their apps. There have been many clickbaits or many marketing spent on introducing the apps. They've been spending a lot of time developing the apps. But one of the bigger problems they haven't figured out, or that it's now facing, is the churn rate of these apps. And churn rate is actually the abandoning of the app, or how people are not using the app anymore. And a lot of companies have been spending a lot of money developing the app, spending over half a year designing the apps, and only for the users to abandon the apps within the first month. So from this graph, you can see around 57% of the users abandon the app after the first month. And up to on the third month, by the third month, 71% of all the users have been abandoning the app. So all this time spent on creating an app, and we only get value out of it for 3 months. So to increase this value and reduce the development costs, it is actually very important how we retain the users from using the app and not just leaving our app for another app. And also this can help reduce the development costs and maintenance costs, because after 70% of the users abandoning the app, are you going to keep it in store? Are you going to maintain it? So now, when we look at why people abandon apps, it really touches today's topic, and we always refer to like bad UX in the app. Basically, I guess it's common sense. One of the problem is the apps cannot solve the problem. So they download the app and it's not meeting the expectations. But some other reasons, some of the more not obvious reasons could be excess permission, with people being more aware of their privacy, with all their data, how they're being used. If your app is requiring more permissions or more access to different parts or to the data, now people are more aware of this, and it can cause people to abandon the app. The whole process of the user journey of the app could be too complicated. So users cannot navigate around the app, cannot reach what they want easily, so they find an easier alternative. And lastly, I think one of the really hidden or more hidden features in app design is the power consumption of these apps. A lot of these apps have been introducing a lot of features, but haven't considered the background power consumptions or how it uses all the batteries in one day. And it actually causes a lot of inconvenience with the users. So these are some not on-screen UX features that should be considered when developing an app. So when you talk about UX UI and the trends on the app development projects, we're looking at some ideas that could be quite obvious or already appearing or already happening. But I just want to share some insights from our side. So with the people are familiar with passwordless authentication, Face ID, and it's still constantly improving, such as Apple having the Face ID with the mask. So people are trying to access the app easier and with less steps. So passwordless authentication is definitely a trend coming up for UX, or any way to reduce the time the user needs to access the app. Animations and videos, more interesting content, or specifically in between loading pages, having more animations or videos to make those time spent waiting more interesting. Conversational design, no one likes talking to a robot, so a lot of these apps, membership apps, a lot of the support is trying to adopt a more AI-related chat systems to feel like there's always someone on the other side, communicating as a support. And a lot of you probably heard of Web 3.0 and the AR, VR era. We're moving into the Web 3.0 with the blockchain and the VR. It's very important to follow up these trends, and a lot of these membership apps or user apps can adopt with these new trends. Now, also a lot of designs in terms of illustrations and fonts have been, there's more emphasis on the designs, using the correct font and correct image types that matches your brand style, your app style. Having a dark mode option is definitely something important, because with users using the app longer and longer every day, you definitely want something easier on the eyes and somewhere so they won't get tired from using your app, or just it's definitely a trend that we've seen and important to implement into your apps. So now, there's also some limitations on mobile app development to consider right now. So you can see these, I've listed a few examples. One thing when we come across developing a mobile app is the limitation of the screen size. Specifically, mobile phones right now, everyone has a smartphone. Everyone has different monitor sizes, and it's generally going for a smaller size, or even if a larger size, it's just the size of an iPad. In comparison to before, people are using the computers in Web 2.0. So it's important in the limited size, we fit everything we need within the screen. So we try to simplify everything, only fitting what's important, what's useful for the user. And another hurdle people would face when reaching users in the app is to how they can download the app. So most apps have to be downloaded through Google Store, for app stores, and it is actually a hurdle for users to find your app and how you can reach the users from the app stores. And the cost of acquisition is higher, especially when the market is flooded with new apps every day, and you have to compete with the other apps, similar apps, to reach your target users. So overall, the trend of the cost in app development is higher, and it only will keep growing. And how are you going to distinguish yourself from other apps is also important to consider UI UX changes. So the UI UX design really makes you stand out from other apps and keep your users' retention rate. So how do people keep using your app through better UX UI designs? Now, as I mentioned earlier, since the screen size have a big limitation, using a minimalistic design is important because you only allow selected a few objects inside the screen. And also another thing people might consider is the in-app gestures. A lot of behaviors such as swiping or drop down, changing tabs, all these different functions are being more commonly used in people's day-to-day life or in different apps. And using some of these easier gestures in comparison to typing or entering into keywords can improve the user's journey in your app and make it easier for users to navigate. And another idea you want to consider when developing an UI/UX design is the consistent behavior. So we do see a lot of bad examples where the design is not consistent throughout the whole app. So for example, they could have a set button always on the left side, and then on one of the pages they have on the right. These small things can actually trigger or could cause inconvenience or mistakes or accidents happen for a user. And it's better to keep your whole design consistent from start to end. And as a UI UX designer, this is important how you carry your user through the app's user journey. I also mentioned before less battery consumptions. So this part for UI UX, how can you encourage users, or how do you design your app to use less battery consumptions? A lot of apps can be running on the background, and without proper coding, they could have been using a lot of power. This actually triggers a lot of users to uninstall the app, and they can actually easily find out which apps has been using most of their power and that they recharge their phones. And another thing we consider in design is reducing loading time. So no one likes to wait for a loading screen or a loading time. How you can design your apps, how many images per screen, how many buttons per screen, all can help reduce the loading time. And of course, this would involve developers as well as their contribution. But from the UI UX design perspective, you could make this job a lot easier in development with considering these factors when you design. And lastly, gamification. Now everyone wants their app to be more interesting, including game attributes in their apps designs, such as daily reward points or missions, to get the user more sticky to the app, to feel like they're earning something, they're getting rewarded from using your app. So a lot of our apps and a lot of our designs would adopt some sort of gamification to improve how user feels they're involved in the app and they actually can earn value from using your app. Now, I want to share a few cases we've done before. One of the membership app for a client, this is just a dummy photo for the UI, so it's not the actual graphics. We have a loyalty program app which allows users to reach the clients, allow clients to reach the users for the benefits and perks from the store. And the main objective of the app is to collect audience base, collect client base, and allow them to know what updates or what rewards they have from their offline shop, even when they're not in the store, or easily accessible anytime. And we adopted like stamp systems. We have a simple layout, membership system, reward points. All these are very familiar with users. They're familiar with what these items are. And we've transferred it into an application, such as like a stamp card or the basic reward points with actual UI and interface to encourage users to move from offline to the traditional paper form to the membership app form. First, it's easier for the clients to manage, and it's also easier for the to stimulate a user to move from their online store all the way back to the offline store after the pandemic. Now, also for your end user does not only include the normal clients, it also includes the staff of a business. So we also consider when in a staff app, we have to make the UX and UI convenient for the staff to use, because if it's too complicated, the staff could make a lot of mistakes, or it's not user-friendly. They will reject the change, reject using the system. So we also have consideration when we design a staff app to make it easier for the staff to use. And at the same time, we want both sides to use the app efficiently and managed to move their membership from offline traditional systems to a mobile app system. And I want to share another case. This is an internal project. It's an access system where we allow users to access day-to-day office or any venue, booking, etc. So we put a lot of UI and insights into this system. And one of the main ideas is to have every function completed in less pages, simplifying the design as we discussed before, and only showing the key information within the app. So you can see, I'll point out some key features in the user profile. We have a very straightforward, simple, with only information needed in the profile page. And we also have some, the orange arrow at the bottom would enlarge the QR code, because one of the biggest problems when people are using QR code is not being able to scan the QR code properly. So we have some small consideration, quality of life changes to help users use the app. And as I mentioned earlier, there's also different gestures you can use. So we want to adopt different gestures that people are familiar with, such as slide unlocking, which is very common for different phones, smartphones. So not only it will prevent users from accidentally clicking or unlocking a door in their pockets, the slide unlocking is a very familiar gesture for most users. So people don't need extra time to learn how to use the app. It's very intuitive for them to use the app immediately. And other features, we also can create QR codes in this app from within the app. So compared to traditional feature apps, you have to create maybe from a admin panel, from different software. We try to keep all the functions within one app. So in UX design, we can always reduce the different platforms that the user have to visit. And they can select all their fields using like drop-down menus, reduce the amount of typing they needed. So they'll help reduce the mistakes that will happen. So in terms of management, in terms of user experience, it will also improve. And lastly, this QR, we can also show QR code records from this example. So again, we use preset tabs for easy search. So using tabs, using UI that people are familiar with, people don't have to navigate a lot to find the information they need. And easy sharing buttons so they can access what information they want and share it through their instant messages. And mostly adopting experiences that users are already familiar with into our app system. So people don't need to start learning the app all over again. And lastly, the scanning features is also made easy to use. We want to keep focus the function on keeping the simple function on each screen. So in this function is a simple camera where they can scan the QR code of the users. So they can do it, scan the QR code anywhere in their mobile. They can access it anywhere without specific equipment. So in general, this example, what we want to show to everyone about UI UX is to go with something users are familiar with. Don't try to introduce introduce new items where people have to learn all over again to use. And if people are comfortable using whatever your app have developed, it will reduce their churn rate and keep your users attached to your app and stickiness. So you can, here's some information from our company, and you can follow us through here. So I think that's about it for, yeah.
Okay, thank you, Roger. Was an inspirational present, which well explained the latest UX UI trends on the development of apps, the trending element of app optimization, and the successful case sharing. A good UX UI design can definitely keep people using your app. Okay, just a little housekeeping that if you have any questions to Roger, please type them in the chat box. Our moderator will bring them up during panel discussion. Now, I would like to move on to our next speaker, Mr. Tony Ng, founder and creative director from DigitSalad. He will be sharing on how to enhance user engagement in the mobile app through UX and UI design.
Thank you.
Hello, this is Tony. I'm the founder and creative director of DigiSilot. So for today design sharing, I would like to talk about how to enhance the user engagement in the mobile app through the UX and UI design. And the target audience will be the business owner or mobile app owner, and even the UX and UI designer. So before I go to the user engagement, I would like to talk about the definition of UX and UI design. So for UX design, we need to think about the three core values. That's about design, people, business. When we have a mobile app, we have a good design, which is user friendly, so we can drive more people to download the app and try the you provide to the customer. With more people download your mobile app, and we can drive more conversion and even bring the revenue to your business, so that your business rely on a good UX design. That's something I think when we are the business owner, we need to think about design, people, business, that the core three value in your business. And for the UX design, divide it into two parts. The first part will be outside the screen, and the second part is inside the screen. What mean outside the screen is about the what we cannot see in the screen, but we can feel the experience. We can see the flow is very simple. And inside the screen mean that what element we would put in the screen, just an icon, and even the size of the search bar, and even the bottom menu navigation. That's what you can see in the screen. There's a two combination to create a good UX design through the outside the screen and inside the screen. I just take a case as an example. For example, when we download the mobile app, we have a 100 user to visit your homepage. So for the step one, there all the user will be in the landing page, and when we go to the step two, about half of user will drop off in this stage, and in the step three, another half of user will be drop off in that stage. The journey requires the user need to click many steps. For example, step 4, step 5, step 6, and then they can buy the product and finish their goal. They will be dropped to the unreachable stone, and we need to rely on the remarketing and some job offer to attract the user come back again. So we need to think about how to simplify the user flow. For example, when we go to the step 2, about half of user will drop off, but for the step 3, around 25 user will be finish their goal in here, so they will drive more conversion, and they can achieve the goal in here. So that's why sometimes when every designer will think about the information architecture and even the user journey, because we need to identify the user journey map and can find out their pain point and how we can solve their problem and how to simplify the flow in the user journey. And that's our suggested work process for every business owner. That's for the first step. I suggest the business owner or designer to do the research to find out your local competitor or your competitor in other region, and then we can define the information architecture to define every module and even the intersection in every module, so that you can more clear the roadmap for your mobile app design. And we can also define the persona and user flow. For example, Uber, the app can provide this to the driver and also the customer to call the car. So there may be some different target audience using your mobile app. And then there's a raw theme. Raw theme that means we have a draft design to put how we can arrange the content in every space, the navigation, but this part is not related to the UI design. They are low color, it's just a black and white screen in the raw theme. And we will design the prototype for the end user to do the user interview to find out our design is on the same page with the end user, so that you can move on to the UI design and the development. And the UI design is about the create a design system in the platform. I will talk about the UI design in the later stage. So and then you move on to the development and UAT, internal QA, and launch your product. This suggests work process for your product. So in the early stage, we already find out what's the potential problem for your target audience and how you can solve that. So for the inside the screen, sometimes we need to think about how to engage the user in the landing page and how you arrange the most important information in the landing area. And even when you have some icon design, we need to think about the usage of each icon and even the position of the icon. And then there's a call for action. How we can encourage the user to click the call for action and then move to the next step. I think this is quite important in the mobile app. And even the gesture, the motion gesture, how the user can swipe left and right and up and down to browse more content in your mobile app. So don't forget how to apply the gesture in there. And then this about the user for that's so-called exact pattern design. We need to think about how to consider the content, the arrangement in your app. And when your app not only informative content, but also the user-generated content, you need to think about how they can create and how they can edit or remove. So UGC content is quite popular in the mobile app recently. And then about the navigation, how you can arrange the other module in the bottom navigation or side menu for the user to access different part of your mobile app. And with your app, require the user to sign up, and maybe you have some application form for your user. With the application form is very complicated. You need to think about how to provide the breadcrumbs and progress bar to let the user know that their current process. And then the floating lines is also important in the mobile app. We tell the user that they can scrolling to view more content. So sometimes we need to think about how to add the floating line into your app in there. For today's topics, I'll more focus on the mobile app, but sometimes the product owner or other UX and UI designer maybe mix up the website behavior and apply those behavior in your mobile app. So I would like to identify the behavior, the difference between the website and the native mobile apps. In a website, sometimes we need to cater a responsive design from 320 to 1920 pixel to cater the different breakpoint, maybe tablet, mobile, and desktop, or widescreen desktop. And the web page will be restricted by the web browser, Chrome, Safari, IE, and the technology is HTML5 and CSS. But when you forgot to add some navigation bar or forgot to add the back button, you still can rely on the browser UI to let the user back to previous page. And in the website, we need to cater the mouse event and tab event. But in the mobile app, the treatment is completely different. The design will be fixed scale, and we need to have a clear navigation to let the user move on, or they can back to previous screen and back to the home page or side menu. So we need to think about have a clear navigation in the app. And in the mobile app, sometimes we have different version to cater different OS. For example, iOS and Android OS and even HOS. So the technology will be quite different with the website. This developed by Swift or Kotlin. And the finger gesture will be very important because sometimes we rely on the user drag and drop and even have different motion to control the screen and the navigation. So there are some behavior, this great difference between the website and mobile app. So for the next session, I'll talk about the UI, because some designer, maybe business owner, may be confused what is UX and UI design. For the UI design, this is what we can see in the screen. That's about the typography and even color. And the icon design, we need to tell the user the usage of each icon, and even the branding element and motion graphic animation, the composition, and even the component, such as the drop-down menu, day picker, some element you may put in the mobile app. The so-called UI design, those elements is what we need to consider with when we create a very beautiful page. And I would suggest the designer or business owner to create your own design system in your platform. That means we can define every UI component and which we usable to for the new screen, so that when in the future when you create a new module, new screen in the mobile app, you can reuse the UI component. With the new page will be custom built. The user may be think that this quite inconsistent. So we will want to create a consistent design. I would suggest the designer to create your own design system to define the every component. If you have a don't understand what is design system, I would suggest you can take a look at Google Material Design and Apple Human Interface Guideline. This two set design system is quite comprehensive and let the beginner designer have some understanding what is a UI component and why we need to think about the motion graphic or animation or even the gesture in your app. Another part that will be affect the user engagement about the user iFlow. There are two examples, A/B design. And more than 19% user will be select A design because the call for action button will be in the right side. But the theory is every people will scan the content from top left corner and then top right side and then move to bottom side and they finish their goal in the bottom right area. That's so-called is a pattern design. There's some example for the heat map that most of the website, the people will scan the content from the top left corner and scan the data or content in the middle part. So this is the fact that the user sometimes will be scan the content with the exact pattern flow. That's why some company put their logo in the top left corner. And the iFlow will be from top to bottom and left to right. So when we design a UI design, we need to think about how to arrange your content in no matter the app or website. So this is the basic written pattern most of the user would have. And we require the user have a long scrolling page. I would say this is Z pattern or F pattern. I will take one of the showcase of a company, this landing page mobile apps. We put the side menu in the top left corner and the middle part is their branding, their logo, and the top right side is the notification button. And the middle part is about the point of the user and some call for action. And then for the bottom part, there will be some promotion and the navigation menu. But the call for action button will be ask the user to submit their receipt. I'll put it to the bottom right corner. And I would like to share some mobile app experience that the use designer sometimes may be overlooked, and even the product owner may mix up website and mobile app behavior together. That's about the pop-up screen tactics. For example, sometimes we will show some pop-up screen to highlight some message or some important information, but this is one behavior to mix up the website behavior into the mobile apps. For example, when we put the content into the lightbox, and we only have a limited space to show the content because we need to reserve two margins in there. There's the first margin and the second margin is for the lightbox. So when we have a pop-up screen in your mobile app, I would suggest you can use the full screen pop-up screen so that we can reserve more space to let the designer put the content in there. If you don't like the full screen style, we even can consider to put the pop screen in the bottom area, because sometimes iOS the latest version was encourage the user to do the pop screen through the pop-up menu. And then when we have some screen related to the empty stage, just for example, the eShop, when we not yet add the product in the shopping cart, sometimes maybe we only can see some wording low order yet in here. But why don't we add some graphic or call for action button here to encourage the user click click some product and have make the order now. So these are some kind of a way to make. And then this case I see from other designer that the screen have a back button and close button in the corner, and the call for action button is also the close button. Sometimes our design may let the user confuse how they can leave the screen. But the strategy is we don't let the user think. It may be just the one way for them to leave the screen. So we need to stand the user perspective to think your UI strategy. And when our app require the user have a long scrolling, sometimes most of the designer will forgot to add the back to top button because the landing area is very important to highlight some important information. So if we have a back to top button, so the user can back to the landing area to select to find out what the important information you want to show. And then this about the breadcrumbs. Our apps have a complicated application form. For example, the membership login or sign up. We need to think about how to let the user know how many steps they need to go through. So sometimes I would suggest the designer to have breadcrumbs to show how many steps they have and what's your current step. With the form is really complicated, maybe we can show the progress bar to show how many percent they already done and how many percent they need to go through for the coming screen. So we need to tell the story that their current stage and encourage them to finish their journey. And even don't forget to add the skeleton in your apps because most of the designers also forgot to add skeleton in there. Actually, skeleton is not referred to loading screen. There's the status that before the content show up, we show that there is something is moving forward. This is not difficult. You just need to add some placeholder and add some slow motion, and then the content will be show up within the second. So this is not difficult part, but most of the designer maybe forgot to add this important element in there. So the next part is about think about the user journey because many designers maybe think about the UX and UI strategy, but actually UX and UI is just one of the elements in your mobile app. If you have a mobile app already, sometimes maybe you need to create a website to encourage the people to download your app. So their journey from they know your branding and consider to download your app or purchase your product. And after they purchase your product, that doesn't mean that their journey is complete. You need to think about the strategy, how they come back to your platform again and even become your friends. There are very long journey to make your user to engage your platform. So UX and UI design may be just one of the elements. I will take the user journey for download your app as an example. If the user found out, they maybe input some keyword in the Google, maybe the surface, maybe some solution they are looking for. They will search the keyword in Google. If your website have a high SEO ranking, maybe they would visit your website. If not, you maybe need to put the money for the Google Ads to make your website for the higher ranking, and then they maybe visit your website. But for the first time, they maybe just stay your website with a short time because they are looking for some solution. So they will search your other competitor website together. And then if your website have a remarketing strategy, maybe your brand show in the Facebook ad and IG ad and even display ad in other website. So the user maybe maybe remember your branding. When we search the keyword again, maybe your brand name or your company surface. So they maybe even do a research on the review in your social media platform, such as your word of mouth and even the feedback from other customer. And then they maybe visit your social media channel, for example, Facebook, LinkedIn, and so they will visit your website again and download your mobile app. But that doesn't mean that the journey is finished. That means that when the user download your app, your game is just started. You need to think about how to make the user repeat visits your app again and again. So I think this is the strategy of every product owner. So for friends for join today design sharing. So this all on my part. Yeah.
Thank you, Tony. Very interesting one. This is actually very useful and very detailed on the tips to the UX and UI design of an app. It really puts developer in the user's shoes. We can also see the importance of user-centric thinking. I believe our participants might have a lot of questions to our speakers, so just hold on. We are moving to our next section and the panel discussion. I would like to invite our moderator, Mr. Michael Ho, founder and lead instructor of Green Tomato Academy, to host the panel discussion with our speakers, Roger and Tony. He will explore some interesting experience and tactics in UX UI. So feel free to ask questions in the chat box again. We will take some time for the questions. So now we're back to the panel discussion. We have our moderator, Marco here, and we have our speakers, Roger and Tony.
Hi.
Yep, so I will pass the time to Marco right now.
Yes. Thank you, Roger and Tony's wonderful sharing, and it was very insightful. And I'm pretty sure the audience and also myself have a lot of questions we would like to ask, and so that we can get to know more about the UX and UI. So let's start off with the terms of UX and UI. Okay, so I'm sure many audience are aware of UX and UI, and as a tech expert, we all know the terms. However, when you are a client has approached you and your company, how do you simply explain this concept to them?
Okay.
Yes. Shall we start off with maybe Roger first?
Yep. Often enough, our client, when they approach us, I think mostly they're more familiar with the concept of UI, where they want the app to look good, they want to focus on graphics, they want to focus on the colors they like, they want to focus on the text they like, but a lot of times they actually do not know what actually keeps the users using the apps or staying in the app is the UX part. We're not saying UI is not important, it's definitely an important factor, but the UX part is what makes users enjoy using the app, stick to the app, and keep using the app in the long term. And it's important for the UX UI designer or any part of the project team which is in contact with the client to explain to them how UX works, what's important in the UX, how we establish the journey. And normally, if we manage to explain to the client how the app would fit into their business flow with the correct user journey, they would understand the importance of the UX and also adopt any suggestions we put to them.
Okay.
Okay. So for my definition, even we create a beautiful page, but the user can find the button, the user will still not engage the platform. So that I think the UX is about the experience, how to make the flow more simplified. For example, when we go to the e-shop and we buy a product, maybe we need to find the product in the product page and product details and the payment method and then pay the money. There are many steps they need to go through. But when we shorten the flow will be within the 3 steps. The user will be keep on repeat to research the platform. That's what the user feel and what they can have a fast conversion. But for the UI design, this skill very important. But this even we create a very beautiful page, but the user cannot find the call for action, so the user would not engage the platform. So there are some difference between the UX and UI design.
Thank you for you sharing. I'm sure the term UX and UI might seem to be like a fancy terms for customers at times when they don't really understand it. But at the end of the day, it's all about how we can improve the productivity and efficiency of the client's business. That's the role of our the tech expert. And Roger has mentioned in your sharing that the app abandonment is quite an issue, for many app designs, right? When clients has spent thousands and even millions of dollars developing an app, what are some of the tips and tricks that you can suggest to prevent this from happening?
Well, I think first thing, what's important is to understand the goal of your app, because the goal objective of the app is very important to designing the UX or the user journey. For example, if your app is trying to create a community, or your app is trying to drive sales or generally gain awareness, there's different designs and approach for each purpose. And if you're trying to satisfy too many purposes through one design, there's no one picture that fits all purposes. So focus on what your app is trying to do. Revolve your design and your your user journey around that purpose, and focus on achieving those features that can drive, for example, building your community. If you want more users and gain a larger population in your user apps, you tend to not want to put too many advertising from the start, or something that's negative through the user experience. And alternatively, if you want to drive sales or purchases, you might want to focus on how the user conversion rate change from the user to the purchasing step, how to simplify that steps, how to simplify that stage. So one suggestion I want to put out to the UI designers or even business owners is to understand what you're trying to achieve with your app and what stage is your app at that stage at least. If you want to change in the later stage, there's updates you can do, but at that moment when you develop it or in your planning or marketing plan, stay focused on your objective.
Okay. For me, I think the top tips are about how to stand the angle from the end user to find out the pain points and then define the problem. Because a mobile app may be just one of the touch points of the product. If you have a product, maybe you need to think about multiple touch points, mobile app, website, some maybe kiosks. So we need to stand in the user perspective to define the pain point is from the mobile app or website or other touch point, and then we need to think about how to provide a personalized content to your user. For example, maybe I register a member in the app. The app can define my interests so that I can have a different kind of content to the user which they may have interest. Another part is about how we can use the technology. For example, for the mobile app, we can pay with location marketing. When I take the mobile app in some specific location, maybe I can send a push notification to the user. So I think sometimes we need to think about how to use the latest technology to enhance the user experience. Yeah.
Thank you for both reply. So at the end, it all comes down to how you understand the business problems of your clients, and also how do you solidly define the needs of your users. Now, once you can match these two things, I'm sure the app and the product design won't be abandoned. Okay. So here we have some questions from the audience. So let's get started. So there's one question for Tony.
Yeah.
Okay, so Patrick would like to know more about the design thinking methodology and how it's used in the your design process.
Okay. Actually, design thinking process is quite similar with the UX design process. The common practices are how we stand in the user angle as an amplifier, how to as a their angle to find out their pain point and how we can solve the problem. Once we have a solution, how we can design the prototype for the user to find out our solution is really work. I think the US process is quite similar with the design thinking process. Yeah.
Thank you. And there's a question for Roger. Okay, so when you're benchmarking an app, right? How do you judge whether an app is as well built and it's a good app, and what is a not a well built app?
Well, first of all, it all really depends on a cost perspective from the company or your design team, and how much effort you can input into your app development, because it's not cheap to find out the perfect design for your app. You have to go through different testings. There could be A/B testing. You need to really think with your user's perspective, and there's no getting it right in the first time, especially with the market trend changing so constantly with new technology coming up. But in terms of reducing this, as a UX UI designer with experience, you can reduce this cost or reduce this time by actually more communication with the product owner, as well as the end users, thinking from their perspective. As both of those, you have to get a balance between both requirements to actually push your ideas into production into the market as well. So that's
okay. Thank you so much. And another question from Keith. So he would like to know the difference between native app and HTML5 mobile app.
Yeah.
Yes. Do you have any past projects that the client you would propose different methodologies of creating the app? What's the pros and cons of both sides?
Okay. I think the native app maybe provide better good experience for the user because for the Apple and Google side, they don't want to have a same language can cater to both platform. So in the every upgrade of their OS, they may have their own native element, for example, Apple Pay or Google Pay or even Light Mode, Dark Mode. And maybe HTML5 format cannot cater this solution, but native app can not even can cater this function, but also can provide some better gesture or animation in the app, and even the app size will be more will not that big. So I would suggest when you the developer, maybe you start to build your app through the native methodology, because HTML5 maybe their own restrict no matter their technology, and even they cannot cater both platform. Yeah.
Okay. Do you have any thoughts on this, Roger?
Yes, similar to what Tony said, we mostly stick with native app development as well, because at the end of the day, the end users are using mostly iOS or Android systems, and they're familiar, as I said from Share earlier, we want to use something that the user's familiar with, and they don't have to learn something new. So we want to stick with something that is most common to most end users, especially you have to review your target users in the end, at the end of the day. Yeah. So it actually makes it a lot easier if we stick with those native systems.
Okay. Yeah. So although the production cost for HTML5 app would be lower than the native ones, However, I assume the native version would be much more reliable and secure in the long run. Okay, so here I have a question from myself. Tony, you mentioned in your sharing that for the call to action button, when you put it on the right or the left, it might make a difference.
Yes.
Of course it does, you know. So when you're developing a product, how do you go about the testing of different layouts and format to find out which is the best option?
Okay. I suggest we can prepare A/B test for different type of user because maybe our target audience from a different segments, with children or teenager and even male or female. Maybe we can do the A/B test for different type of target audience so that we can see which type of design we can cater and fit for the market. And this is one of the options. Another option is we can use the navigation. Maybe we can highlight some important action as a floating action button to encourage the user to click that button. I think there are many strategies we can play with in the design, but I think we suggest we can prepare a different type of version to do the user interview, and then because more interview will interact with the user, more result you can get from them, and then you can enhance the whole UX and UI design.
And what about Roger? Do you have like a specific process for you to test out the layouts and then the product and the user flows?
Yes. Normally, one thing we have to identify is, again, the end users. Who are your end users? What age group? What kind of people are they? And revolve your design. For example, you know, if your users are probably elderly users, you have a bigger text. You know, example like that. But at the end of the day, in the real life situation, there are so many variables that can change. So this is gonna to get it right, get it perfect. It's gonna be a progress and not a one-time change. So similar to what Tony said, there's also testings you can do, or after development, after launching. In your development, you could incorporate tracking and check how your app's performing, or heat maps, or any types of tracking to monitor and improve your app instead of getting it perfect in the first go, because there's just so many changes right now with this rapid market. So yeah, keep improving and changing and following the trends.
Yes, I think finding the appropriate and the targeted users type for testing the product prior to launch is an important key. And also many tools, scientific tools that we can leverage, can use to find out the results. So another question is about the talent pool. Okay, so there has been an article from the newspaper, I think 2 days ago, saying that Hong Kong is currently facing a lack of tech talent. Okay, so as both tech experts and founder of the company, so what are your takes on the lack of talent in Hong Kong? What are some measures you can do to, like, are you facing any difficulty in hiring talents at the moment? And what are some methods you can solve these issues? Yeah. So let's start off with, Roger?
Yeah, definitely for the recent years, talent pool have been a critical issue and really stopping limiting the growth of many companies because they can't support the demand with the current staff. And after all, this is definitely an industry level effort that a lot of companies are starting to take, providing more training, providing more introduction, especially to students, to university students, letting them know that there's alternatives than the traditional finance or other industries. And this in this industry where the job security is high, and it's actually a lot more interesting than the traditional idea of developing a program, developing coding, and basically educating the majority that this is a viable market, especially a rapidly growing one, and the demand's only going to grow. So gaining these confidence in students really what's the next step we need to do to encourage the market growth, especially in Hong Kong.
Yeah, and actually I agree, because in the recent 2 years, there are high demand, no matter the UX and UI designer and even the technical guru. I can see that we just from my experience, you are looking for junior or middle level, you still can find some talent in the market. But if you're looking for some senior guy, maybe UX lead or technical lead, it is very, very hard to find in the market and in this current stage. I think that currently many for a agency, there are some talent will be switch their career from advertising to digital side. So for my company, we will do a design sharing every week. I'll ask my teammate to find out some interesting topics for UX and UI design and technical, so they can find the latest trend in the global market. So they will understand what's the trend and how we can moving forward in the industry. So they will have a sense to cultivate from themselves. But my conclusion is, if you're looking for a senior guy, the talent pool is very limited. It's very hard for the business owner to find the great candidates in the company at the moment.
Okay, thank you. I think there's a lot of room for tech companies and academic institute to collaborate, in order to cultivate more talents in the future. So I have one more question. So the digital landscape is rapidly changing, So what are some challenge apart from the lack of talent? So what are some big challenge that you might foresee that is coming? So let's have Roger reply on this first.
Well, definitely one thing we notice is the moving into Web 3.0 and the adaptation to the blockchain technology, VR technology, AR technology. We're now moving not only into the 2D scale, we're moving into 3D. And I think it's definitely important for UX UI designers to prepare looking into 3D modeling, into different platforms, because we're no longer limited just to tablets and smartphones. We're looking at VR glasses or whatever new technology that may be coming out next year or coming soon. And how UI UX designers adopt into these markets or into these new technologies is crucial for their career growth or career path, because that's the upcoming demand that's coming soon, specifically with all the heat in the metaverse and in 3D modeling. So definitely a challenge that we might face is how to transition from this 2D flat platform, mobile platform, into a new medium.
Okay, so from my perspective, and when you're working in the digital industry, this the challenge we always meet, because 2 to 3 years already have a new generation. A few years ago, when we go to cinema, some people say that 3D movie will be very hit. You can need to wear the glass to go to the cinema to watch the 3D movie. But for today, no one to wear this 3D glass again. So when you're working in the digital world, I think 2 to 3 years we will have a new generation, new technology. So my comment is we need to observe it. What's the new technology is coming. For today, there are many people talk about the Web3, NFT, even blockchain technology, but maybe next year the topics will be different. So I would say we need to observe it, what is the trend is coming in the future. So we need to keep on learning the new thing. And yeah, this is the suggestion I give to all people working in the digital agency or digital related world.
Thank you for your reply. And there are many speculations on the NFTs and blockchains and even metaverse that we have just mentioned. Are there some example that you can think of at the moment that are very practical or successful currently? Or can you think of some existing projects? Yes. That is related to metaverse. Yes.
Yeah.
I'd say I heard earlier we had a brief discussion off screen about some of the NFT projects or metaverse project on the STEPN projects.
Yes.
It's actually one of the more popular projects where people are taking something they do daily life, such as walking and running, into a blockchain or into Web 3.0, where they're measuring the steps in real life and convert it into cryptocurrency in the future or in the short future. And this is I would say this is kind of an example of how they bring now the UX is just not limited into just technology, but also into equipment such as trainers that measure that measure the steps. So one thing I want to bring out is maybe it's, VR goggles or glasses doesn't have to be the next big thing, but we have to be aware of the different possibilities and technologies, because right now we're changing at a pace that's faster than ever. And next day it could be a pair of shoes that's you have to consider for the UX, how it can deliver the data into your program, and the day after it could be something else. So equipping yourself better with different technologies is definitely a plus. And 3D modeling has been around for a while, and it's been used in different fields as well. So it's definitely something we want to look into when preparing yourself for upcoming trends.
Okay.
Yes.
When we speak about Web3, I think there will be a long topic. We can talk about this topic for whole day. But I think there will be affect the UI and UI design, no matter mobile app or website. Just take Instagram as an example. Recently, Instagram already announced that they will support NFT buy and sell in the future. So I think to affect the US and UI design in the future. If I'm the product owner, I need to observe our app is really support Web3, or even we have to do some preparation. For NFT, I think the value is about membership. If your app is related to customer loyalty, I think you can think about NFT maybe a good tool for you to sell your some token to your membership through NFT, and because the membership can be transferred to give more flexibility to your friends, how to engage your platforms. I think the business owner can take a look about NFT technology and how you can use it in your platform.
Okay, thank you. I do agree. Not only are the users adapting to rapid changes, also for us as UX and tech experts, we're requiring new talents. We're adopting new methods for development. So it's just a race for the rapid change, in the pace, the change of pace. So let's see if we have any more questions from the audience. And okay, so here is one question that I would like to know, and that is could you share with us some secret recipe, or top tips on tracking unique insights into consumer behavior? So this is tying back to today's event's topic, in consumer behaviors, based on your years of experience in UI and UX design. Okay, so let's start off with Tony.
Okay. Yes. Okay, I think this is a good question for me to do the conclusion today. This because for today's topic about user engagement. So my conclusion is how we can encourage the user finish their goal within 3 steps. Because in US we have a terms called the 3-click rules. And then how we can use the technology, maybe location marketing, and send different personalized message to your user, and how you can use the personalized content shown in your mobile app. I think it would help to enhance the user engagement and make your members stay on the platform. These are some of my conclusion today.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah, so in terms of secret recipe and tricks to knowing how your UX is doing well, at the end of the day, what actually convinced people the performance is data. And collecting data from your app, collecting data from your system is something that also involves development costs and also involves the development team. So as a UX UI designer, you have to really check or think about how you could decide these key performance indicators where we can implement tracking inside your app to figure out how your app's performance. And to determine these key performance indicators, you have to review your user journey, which steps are the most important for the business value, or what your business goal, as I mentioned earlier, the goal of the app, and how you can achieve this app. And with that, you can work on with your programmers, your development team, implement trackings and collect data. And data is the ultimate truth of how your app is performing. It's not how you feel or how your app owner feels. So at the end of the day, if you want an accurate reflection, there's also many tools you can use online, like Google Analytics. For Apple app stores, they have some data on churn rates and people's abandon rates. And if you want extra insights and more accurate data, you have to implement these trackings inside your app and collect it raw, so you can do analysis on it to get the best results.
Yes, data don't lie. So
data don't
yes, it's a
lie.
reliable source to judge whether a product is performing well or not. Yes. So while we're waiting for more questions from the audience, so okay, how about has there been any clients which have approached your company for a redesign of an app, which was done by another company, and then they request you to do a redesign? Has that happened before?
Yeah.
Yes, right. Okay, so what I would like to know is, sometimes a client might approach your company and they would like to have the product to redesign to make it look better. But as a professional, of course, we don't want to just make the product look better, or we call it a facelift, right? So, what is the biggest challenge, really, to explain to them that it's a UX process and not just a facelift or redesign? Yes. Yes. How about Roger?
Yeah, that's definitely happened before. We have received projects, website apps. The performance not doing well. They want us to improve their UX. They want us to improve their performance of the results. So one thing I really figured out, or at least for different business owners or staff team, is a lot of business owners or app owners, they don't know what they really want from their app. They're not focused on their objective. As earlier I mentioned, one thing about UX UI design is to know what's your goal, what's your target you want to achieve of your app. Is it conversion? Is it payment? You want to get more people to pay, or you want more users? And if you define your scope clearly and focus on that goal, then you can design or you can improve the UX user journey to achieve that goal. And trying to achieve too many things in one go, there's no easy way to do it. And a lot of times we have to dig deep, we have to discuss with the product owner what they want to do, what they want to get. And in the end, they found out new things they actually want to do, they want to achieve. And we focus on how to improve the app or design to achieve those, pinpoint those ideas and achieve those goals. So in the end, we did change the UIs, we did change the UX, and also based on any data they collected from before, we achieve the goal they want to change to.
Yes.
Okay. So for me, I found out about the job of way for the original app. With the app have too many user job in some specific page. I think we need to rethink how to enhance the user flow in the whole journey. And apart from user and UI design, we need to think about the functionality we put in the app. Because with the app already have an original version, version 1, maybe we can already have some research to know that what kind of function is redundant, what kind of function can be enhanced, and add more function in there. We have a terms called the product market fit. So what kind of function can be fit for the market and fit for the target audience. I think when we redesign a mobile app, we need to think about how your product can fit in the market. This really matter for me.
Yes, thank you. So not just having a redesign, but also understanding the client's motive, their business model, and how to improve their performance, and as well as giving new suggestions to the client's business is very important. And UX all comes down to market research and user research, and knowing the problem and giving new suggestions. Yes. So thank you, both of you for your sharing. And I think we have really gained a lot of understanding and insight into the UX and UI profession and the practices. And so shall we wrap up today's panel discussion?
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you, Marco.
Thank
and
you.
thank you, Roger and Tony.
Mhm.
So now, before we draw an end to our workshop, I would like to express our appreciation again to our speakers and moderator again for your time here. And also, I would like to thank you everyone for joining the webinar today. We appreciate you being here. So last but not least, may we ask your involvement on filling the questionnaire as a feedback on how did we do and suggest how could we improve. You can scan the QR code there and post your comments to us. So have a great evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.